Finn Mallory had bombed before, but tonight was nuclear. He stood on the sticky stage of the Pickled Onion, a dim pub in Camden known more for its darts league than its open mic nights. His latest set 5 whole minutes on oat milk conspiracies and why cats were probably plotting to overthrow Parliament landed his only fan. Dave, the bartender, handed him a pint, with a silence so thick he could hear the fridge humming behind the bar. Sipping his pint and trying not to cry into it. "Try jokes next time," someone shouted from the back, just before a peanut bounced off Finn's forehead. He stepped off stage with a muttered thanks and made a beeline for the bar. Dave was wiping down the counters when Finn wandered toward the back, curious about the cellar door he'd never noticed before. "Same again next week?" Dave asked. "I think the room's allergic to laughter," Finn replied. After the crowd dispersed, Finn lingered, trying to remember if he'd left any dignity behind. Something, a shimmer, like heat, over pavement, flickered in the hole. "Don't go down there," Dave warned without looking up. The second his fingers brushed the shimmer, the floor gave out. Or maybe he did. "Are you mad? Crawling out of the privy like that?" A man in a ruffled collar and breeches stood over him, holding a tankard and a suspicious expression. Behind him, 2 children in tattered tunics stared at Finn like he was a particularly confusing pigeon. But a sunlit stretch of blue. Around him were buildings that looked like they were about to give up and collapse out of sheer exhaustion. The air reeked of mud, smoke, and what Finn could only describe as unwashed optimism. Either way, he fell. The world spun like a pub toilet after New Year's. Finn grinned. "What? Is it haunted?" Boxes of lager sat next to dusty chairs, and in the corner was a small wooden hatch he couldn't resist opening. "They mean the Camden Inn by the docks. They burned that down last winter. Too many plague rats. Inside was just darkness and..." Then something blinked. "No, it's worse. It's where we store the pickled eggs," he asked the boy, who looked at him like he'd asked whether he could eat a window. "I'm on some TV prank show, right? Hidden cameras? Excellent commitment to the bit, guys." His phone was shattered, the screen spider-webbed and dark. He pressed the power button. "We're looking for fresh laughs at the Rose Theatre. All the old ones, stinker plague and puns." Nothing. Naturally, Finn opened the door and descended the creaky stairs. The basement smelled like mold and regret. Not someone. "'Tis the season of the third Queen Liz." Or was it the first? He reached in before his brain could scream not to. Possibly both. But if there was one thing he knew for sure, it smelled awful. His career was somehow still in ruins. And he might just have the chance to open for Shakespeare. And fell. He's got a new bit about witches and murder. Crowd loves it. Bit grim, though. He landed hard, smacking face first into something damp and distinctly above him loomed Skynot, Camden's grey cloud ceiling. He tucked it into his hoodie like it was precious. "Oi!" a voice barked. Finn blinked. "Where am I?" Finn croaked. "The question is, what in God's name are ye wearing?" The man countered. Finn looked down. His hoodie and jeans were caked in mud. His sneakers squelched when he shifted. He stood up too fast and immediately sat back down. "Camden?" he said hopefully. The man looked at him as if he'd spoken whale. Finn blinked. "Plague rats," he laughed, a short, panicked sound. A boy walked up and poked his phone. Finn looked down. "You break that." The older man crossed his arms. Or touched in the head." "I'm a stand-up comedian," Finn offered, as if that explained anything. The man blinked. "You stand up and make people laugh for money." Another man nearby overheard and approached with keen interest. "A jester?" Finn's eyes widened. "The Rose Theatre, like Shakespeare's Rose?" "Old Will." Finn laughed nervously. Yeah. Grim. That's his vibe. Someone handed him a small loaf of bread. It was rock hard and smelled like feet. What year is it? He asked quietly. The man shrugged. Finn sat back down. He was either dreaming or in Elizabethan London, possibly both. But if there was one thing he knew for sure, it smelled awful. His career was somehow still in ruins, and he might just have the chance to open for Shakespeare. Finn wasn't entirely sure how he got to the Rose Theatre. One moment, he was still processing that. Yes, he'd apparently time-slipped into Elizabethan England, and the next, he was being shoved onto a cart full of cabbages headed south. Hang on, this is kidnapping, Finn protested as he bumped along. It's sponsorship, said the man beside him, who introduced himself as Giles. You want to be seen, don't you? Nothing better than the stage. The Rose Theatre looked nothing like the elegant playhouses from films. It smelled like wet wood and ambition, and it creaked under the weight of shouting vendors, drunkards, and performers rehearsing while fending off livestock. Someone barked as a squawking bird flapped past Finn's head. Oi, mind the goose! Giles marched Finn right into the back, where actors in various states of dramatic flair were warming up. Inside, the stage was being swept by a boy no older than 12, with the posture of a man twice his age. This is our jester, Giles announced. I'm not a jester, Finn muttered. And apparently make people laugh for food, said a woman, adjusting her ruffled skirt. If that's not a jester, I don't know what is. He looked like he hadn't slept in a week, with ink stains up to his elbows and eyes that had seen things no quill could fully describe. You wear strange clothes, talk nonsense. Is that north or south of Oxford? I once wrote a play entirely in iambic burping. Never again. Finn opened his mouth to argue, but was interrupted by the sound of slow, deliberate footsteps. Quiet, someone hissed. The master arrives. Last jester made 3 puns about syphilis and got pelted with chicken bones. A man strode in, scribbling furiously into a leather-bound notebook. Will Shakespeare. Finn's jaw dropped. The bard glanced up. You're the jester. His oat milk bit became a diatribe on suspicious goat cheese. TikTok references got replaced with town criers. I'm told he'll recover or explode. He was pretty sure he had a working bit comparing Queen Elizabeth to a disappointed aunt at Christmas. And smelly, a woman breastfed a baby in the front row, while a man next to her scratched himself with a stick. Took the puddle route. Wouldn't recommend it. Too wet. 0 stars on TripAdvisor. Technically, I'm a comedian, Finn replied. From the future, Shakespeare raised a brow. Finn almost choked. It's not even on the map yet. Will snapped his book shut. Everyone's got their quirks, as long as he's funny. He was now in a writer's room with Shakespeare, and if he played this right, maybe, just maybe, he wouldn't have to bomb ever again. The crowd roared. He ended with a song parody of a Shakespearean sonnet, rewritten as a breakup letter, and the crowd erupted in applause. He bombed last night in Camden, Giles added helpfully. Nothing builds character like failure, Will said. Finn blinked. You're weirdly cheerful about bombing, Will grinned. The rest of the cast laughed. Finn chuckled nervously. You'll go on before intermission, Will said. Do 10 minutes of your best material. But I don't know anything they'd find funny. Then talk about what you know, Will replied, already scribbling again. But keep it clean. Finn swallowed hard. Finn asked. He spent the next hour backstage, trying to make his modern jokes Elizabethan. When it was time, someone shoved a garish hat onto his head and pushed him onto stage. The audience was ... rowdy. Good evening, lords and farmhands, Finn began. I'm Finn, your substitute fool. The usual one had a plague situation. A few chuckles. He breathed. Anyway, I just arrived here. How hard it was to find a toilet that wasn't tea, just a wooden box of despair. More laughs. Encouraged, he launched into a bit about as he bowed. A cabbage narrowly missed his head. Compliment! Someone shouted, backstage. Will clapped him on the back. You survived, he said. Most jesters don't. Thanks, I think. You've got promise, Will continued. We're rehearsing a new comedy tomorrow. It could use someone with your oddness. You want me to be in a Shakespeare play? He was now in a writer's room with Shakespeare. Will smirked. No, I want you to help rewrite it. Finn nearly fainted. He wasn't just stuck in the past. And if he played this right, maybe, just maybe, he wouldn't have to bomb ever again. The next morning, Finn awoke to the scent of something vaguely meaty and absolutely burned. Giles was standing over a small fire pit in the alley behind the theatre, flipping what looked like a squirrel on a spit. Breakfast, Giles said proudly. Finn squinted. Is it twitching? That means it's fresh. I miss microwaves, Finn muttered. Still, he took a cautious bite and immediately regretted it. Whatever this creature had been in life, it had died full of vengeance. He discreetly spit it into his sleeve. Nothing like rewriting history with someone who invented half of English, Finn replied. Morning. I brought a few joke ideas, quill in hand, muttering lines to himself. Excellent. The Duke in Scene 3 could use a touch of absurdity. Currently, he's just shouting about taxes. Ready for rehearsal? Giles asked. Sure. Inside the Rose Theatre, Shakespeare was already pacing the stage. To wed or not to wed? No, too close to that other one. We must go faster. The court may attend the next performance. A jest upon the word tax? Clever. You may live another day. Shockingly poetic. Finn added a twist where the potion's side effects included spontaneous Shakespearean insults. Are you sure you're a fool? What if he complains that the local bard's performances are taxing enough? Finn stepped onto the boards. Remember your cues. Cheat, not your lines. And for heaven's sake, project like your life depends on it. She needs a line that shows she's witty, but beneath it, deeply resentful of her job. Will looked up. Not an adaptation. Master Finn. Probably the asterisk in the footnotes, but still. Not a parody, a real one. Finn pulled out a scrap of parchment he'd scribbled on. The one who made jest of tax and taverns. Will paused, then laughed. Shakespeare, despite his genius, was open to suggestions. Even from a time-traveling stand-up comic in mismatched trousers, Finn stood in a velvet-trimmed antechamber in front of a man who looked like he ate minor poets for sport, or at least her cousin. Do you have the wrong Finn? Maybe you mean Flynn or Phineas. Either way, one bad joke and it's off with your head, or mine, or both, if they're feeling thorough. How about every pint I pour shortens my life by a sneeze, and yet men still tip in insults. I hear the castle has better soup. High praise. He was the ambassador of modern comedy, accidental or not. Now, for the barmaid's entrance, Will said, waving him over. Finn thought for a moment. Will stared at him. Only when unpaid. Will scribbled it down. You mean the Queen? I can't do this. What if I say something wrong? What if she hates it? Suddenly, I miss performing at bachelor parties. Will nodded. Finn felt the color drain from his face. The day passed in a blur of rehearsals and line edits. They spent hours working on a scene involving mistaken identities, a donkey costume, and a misplaced love potion. The cast loved it. By evening, the script was ready. Will gathered everyone around. Tomorrow night, we perform a jest most ill. For some of us, it does, muttered the actor playing the Duke. Back in his cramped room above the theatre, Finn sat by candlelight, staring at the finished script. He'd somehow helped write a Shakespeare play. He was part of the canon. Then came the knock. He opened the door to find a messenger boy, breathless and panicked. "That's me. You're summoned. The palace, the Queen's envoy requests your presence." Finn blinked. The boy shook his head. "An hour later, Her Majesty heard of your performance," the envoy said without smiling. "She is intrigued." "That's nice. She has requested a private demonstration. Tonight." Finn's heart dropped into his boots. "Backstage," he told Will. "She probably just exile you," Will said cheerfully. "That's comforting. Or make you her personal fool." As Finn prepared to perform for literal royalty, he took a deep breath. He wasn't just representing himself now. He adjusted his tunic, fluffed his ridiculous hat, and prayed Queen Elizabeth had a sense of humor. Finn stood center stage in a makeshift palace theater, sweating through his Elizabethan collar. A cluster of nobles sat like a wall of judgment, unmoved and powdered. But at the center, dressed in gold and lace, was Queen Elizabeth herself. She looked both majestic and mildly bored. "I know what you're thinking. What's this oddly dressed man doing here? And why does his head look like a failed pudding? But I assure you, I'm here to make you laugh, not with my fashion sense, which is clearly a cry for help. This was not good. You folks have a great economic model. Tax the poor till they die, then tax the funeral. Brilliant. Very efficient." He cleared his throat. "Your Majesty, I come bearing jokes." Silence. He pressed on. The Queen tilted her head. He tried again. "What did the peasant say when he saw the tax collector? One often follows the other. Let's see which you get first." He paused for dramatic effect. "Only suitable for royal occasions and the execution of beloved jesters. You survived. And you were funny. Remarkable. Absolutely nothing. I think I aged 10 years. Let him live. Thank you, Your Grace. I will now quietly exit before I say anything regrettable." He'd already sold his tongue to afford bread. Finn found himself seated between a nobleman who claimed to own half of Kent and a lady who seemed convinced. Finn was an exotic diplomat from a distant kingdom called Standupia. From the corner. "Come. The Queen sent her carriage to fetch us. There's a banquet." Another noble snorted. The Queen's eyebrow lifted. A small laugh, genuine, regal, and terrifying in its restraint. "I must say," Finn continued, encouraged. The Queen leaned forward. "You jest boldly, only because I know I can't outrun your guards in these tights, Your Majesty. That did it. I like him," she said to her advisor. Finn released the breath he didn't know he'd been holding. "Too late," she said, but with a smile. Backstage, Shakespeare clapped him on the back. Finn collapsed onto a stool. "You've earned a drink." "Wait, I get soup and not an axe," Will grinned. At the banquet, he made the mistake of sipping some stew and nearly choked. "Is this spice's actual flavor?" The nobleman scoffed. "It's imported from the East. Costs a fortune." "Comforting." Queen Elizabeth approached the table, her entourage parting like the sea. She gestured for Finn to rise. "You amuse me," she said, "but your jokes carry truth. Then I'll serve it with humor and a pinch of flattery. Careful, jester. Truth is a dangerous spice." Finn bowed. The Queen smirked. "A clever dish. You shall remain in London under my watch. I want to see what you and Master Shakespeare cook up next." "Yes, Your Majesty," he replied, silently wondering if there was a polite way to run to the nearest time portal. Later that night, Finn and Will wandered along the Thames, the moon casting ripples on the water. "You've made a name for yourself," Will said. "The Queen herself has taken interest." "Yeah, that's exactly what I was hoping for when I fell into a puddle. Political attention in the 16th century. If you were less historically important, I might kiss you." You speak to the people with wit, and yet you teach. Come, we've got work to do. The Queen wants a new play. You might be a fool, but you're my favorite one. But only if I get a better hat this time. You know, I thought you were mad at first, will admit, but now I see you're merely lost. Brilliant, but lost. That's the nicest insult I've ever received. You have a gift. I just tell jokes, but through them, you say things that matter. Can we make it about a time traveler who goes home and takes a nap for a month? A.W. Finn said, pretending to wipe a tear. Will laughed. Finn groaned. Will grinned. No. Let's make it about a fool who dares to speak truth to power. Finn sighed, then nodded. All right, but only if I get a better hat. This time, Finn squinted at the table. Let me get this straight. We're writing a play. By candlelight, with a quill, and you want it done by tomorrow? Will nodded. Yes, okay. And has anyone in this century ever heard of coffee? Start with something dramatic. The Queen wants passion, intrigue, and maybe a ghost. No, but we do have mead. Finn sighed. That's not going to help me focus. That's going to help me confess my childhood regrets to a go. Will dipped his quill into ink, then another, then paused. What's the Elizabethan word for dumpster fire? I can do that once I regain feeling in my writing hand. But then the door burst open and one of the royal messengers stormed in. The Queen had requested her favorite dish to nitro-stayed pheasant with crushed potatoes. Now, all we have is pheasant. The chef has fainted. The kitchen boys are in chaos. One even tried to replace the mash with turnips, powdered wig askew, and panting like a marathoner in armor. He scribbled a line. But we are looking for missing royal potatoes. Will looked over. We usually just say London. You know, these belong to the Queen. Didn't say that. It's a miracle they knew how to cook them. Just said Golden Royals on the sack. We found a whole bag tossed in the riverbank. Didn't have any names on it. We were hungry. They laughed. She did. He pointed at the girl. She said she dreamed of being a chef. Sir William, Sir Finn. Tragedy. Did the Queen finally choke on her sarcasm? Finn asked. We bring them back, all of them. We have retrieved the potatoes, and some brave new citizens who saved the evening. No, the royal potato shipment has gone missing, Will gasped. Not the potato. The Queen was seated in her private chamber, reading something that looked suspiciously like gossip written in Latin. He turned to Will. Well, what do we do? Hire her, put the others in training, and make sure none of my potatoes go missing again. We bring you to the palace. The Queen still needs her potatoes, and I believe she needs a new cook. Finn blinked. Why does that sound like a national emergency? The messenger panted. Finn stood. This is worse than I thought. Will gripped his arm. We must investigate. Guards ignored them. They stumbled upon a group of children roasting something over a fire, either because they didn't care or because Will insisted loudly that they were on official spud business. Finn narrowed his eyes. To the potato vault, they snuck through the palace holes like a pair of very obvious spies. Elizabeth took a small piece, chewed, then leaned back. Someone scaled the palace wall for potatoes. That's dedication. In the pantry, they found clues. One muddy boot print, a slice of apple, and a suspiciously open window. Will scratched his chin. All madness, Finn replied. Either way, I respect it. Following a trail of potato peels through the alley behind the palace. Aye! One shouted. Who goes there? We're not here to steal your snacks, Finn said. A girl no older than 10 held up a half-eaten spud. Will crouched beside her. She shrugged. Finn looked at Will. We didn't, one boy admitted. Finn's heart clenched a little. Will stood, brushing off his knees. The kids panicked. Please don't punish us. No, no, Will said gently. Finn grinned. I've seen stranger promotions. They escorted the kids back to the palace, much to the shock of the guards. Your Majesty will announce. The Queen looked at the girl, still holding a roasted potato in her trembling hands. Did you cook that? Yes, Your Majesty. Give me a bite. The girl stepped forward. Well, she said, that's better than anything my chefs made this month. She waved a hand. The kids cheered. Finn blinked. That worked out weirdly well. The Queen looked at him. You doubted me? Never, Your Majesty. She smirked. You're growing on me, fool. Later that night, Finn and Will returned to their writing desk, the play still unfinished. We've got a lot to write, Will said. Let's include the potatoes, Finn replied. It's too good not to. Finn woke up with ink on his cheek and a quill stuck in his hair. Will was already pacing, muttering lines and waving his arms like an orchestra conductor in a windstorm. A spirit in chains. Very dramatic. I dreamt of ghosts, Will said. I dreamt I was back in the future. With pizza? Also dramatic, Finn groaned. Why are we up so early? You mean the kind where they gossip and judge your outfit? Because today we meet the Queen again. 4. Tea. Will stopped pacing. Finn froze. Tea? Will nodded solemnly. Finn looked down at his tunic, still stained from the potato rescue. I am not emotionally ready for this. An hour later, they stood before the Queen's parlor. Finn had attempted to clean up, but now smelled like lavender and anxiety. The door opened. Inside, Elizabeth sat surrounded by laced books and a table piled with pastries. She glanced up. Apologies, Your Majesty. I was detained by an aggressive squirrel in the courtyard. That's my high school creative writing project. You're late, Finn bowed. The ones you don't write down. What else do you know of the future? A peculiar book sat beside the Queen's elbow, half concealed by napkins. The title was handwritten and familiar. She blinked, then smirked. Sit. That pirate duel on hoverboards? Incredible. As they took their seats, Finn noticed something strange. The Chronicles of Roderick the Rebellious, he read aloud. Tell me more stories. Elizabeth froze. You wrote this? Finn turned red. Yes, badly. Please don't read chapter 6. I already did, she said. Well, we have little boxes that show moving pictures. Eventually, the Queen waved away her attendants and leaned back in her chair. Will coughed loudly. Your Majesty has eclectic tastes. She leaned forward. Do you know why I summoned you? Besides the tea and awkward flashbacks, Finn asked. With friends and snacks, and we cook food in giant hot wind machines. You amuse me, she replied, and I'm bored. And there's a show where people pretend to love each other for money. We are honored to ease Your Majesty's boredom. Elizabeth studied Finn. Finn hesitated. Witchcraft, she muttered. Why is it always time travel with you? About a girl who travels through time and teaches kings to dance? No, electricity. She blinked. We have that now. It's called courtship. They talked for hours. I envy your world, she said. So much freedom. Finn smiled. You'd love karaoke. Come with me. You too. Shakespeare. He is not of this world. Guilty. Also, I can explain airplanes with drawing or interpretive dance. He brings metal quills and speaks of flying machines. He is just cranky because I told him to stop charging me for every lunar eclipse. It's when people sing terribly on purpose. Fine. But if frogs start falling from the sky, don't say I didn't warn you. She looked wistful. Sounds divine. Jasper, What did I say about summoning chaos after lunch? Will leaned forward. Your Majesty, we have a suggestion. She arched a brow. This should be good. A play. A new one. Set in the future. Finn blinked. Wait. Yes, Will continued, eyes shining. A comedy. Elizabeth laughed so hard she nearly dropped her tea. Finn leaned over. He is my guest, my fool, my scribe. Because it sells, Will whispered. Elizabeth clapped her hands. Yes, I approve. Suddenly, a courtier burst in. Your Majesty, the royal astrologer has gone mad, she sighed. Again, he claims the stars are angry and that Juve invited dark forces into the court. She stood, then she looked at Finn. They marched into the observatory where a man with wild hair and stained robes was throwing herbs at a telescope. Back, foul energies, he cried. Begone. The Queen folded her arms. Jasper pointed at Finn. Finn shrugged. The Queen raised a hand. Jasper frowned. But the stars, she cut him off. The stars will get over it. Jasper grumbled. Back in the hallway, Finn whispered, This place is chaos. Will grinned. And you fit right in.